to MandoBug Crafts, episode 30. I'm MandoBug, your host, but you can call me Amanda if you want. Welcome, new viewers, and thank you for returning viewers. I am kind of curious where some of my new viewers are coming from. I've noticed a short little spike in views, and hey, let me know how you found me. I am kind of curious. I say that because if I was mentioned by somebody else or if somebody blogged about me, I would like to be able to thank them. So yeah, just let me know. So starting out with something I learned. Starting out. This week I learned how to make stitch markers. Nothing fancy, but I'll show you guys some stitch markers I've made. So I have some longer ones and some shorter ones, and I just kind of played around until I made something that looked right, honestly. But except for these two. You see those two that kind of look like belly button rings or piercing jewelry? I made those based off of a really cool tutorial on YouTube for snag-free stitch markers. So I will go ahead and link to that in my show notes. There's a link to my blog on the description of this YouTube video that will take you back to my blog. Otherwise, you can just type in mandobugcrafts.blogspot.com. But also, it's episode 30, which means I have footage for the end of the video. I've been trying to do that. I did it for episode 10 and episode 20. So episode 30, I made a little tutorial on how I made these stitch markers. So I'm going to go ahead and put that video at the end of this video. So you don't have to sit through it if you don't want to, but if you want it, it's at the end. So, and there will probably be some cat footage at the end too. Because I can't resist, and my cat's so cute. So, moving on to works in progress. So, I've been working on quite a bit. So if you've seen the show before, you may know that I was really excited to cast on these socks. So I hand-dyed some platinum sock from Wool to Die For in this purple and this gray. And I purchased Up Art socks. No glare. Yeah, sorry about the lighting, by the way. I know you can see mostly this orange in the background from my overhead light. I normally have a lot more natural light, but today is overcast, so I do apologize. Things should show pretty true to color though. But yeah, Up Art socks. I'm doing a knit along that's going on with this book in the Up Art Socks Ravelry group, and the cast on for April is Albers. And so I cast the socks on, and let me tell you, they're crazy, dude. They're crazy. So I cast them on. Oh look, stitch markers that I made. And you may be saying, oh, that's really small. Yeah, I'm not the kind of person who reads a pattern all the way through. I know I should, but I just start at the beginning and figure it out as I go. I think crochet did that to me. But besides that, so check it out. It's would you call it modular? You make pieces, so to start you make these squares. And it's really cute, really cool. I got 4 of them. I really like the colors that I dyed. I really like how they're knitting up. But so you make these squares, and I'm going to start picking up stitches on them and knitting them, and you need 4 for each sock. So I'm just going to go ahead and do 8 and get them out of the way and then see what happens next. And I'm kind of weaving in my ends as I go. But I think these will make pretty nice socks. I really hope I can figure this pattern out. I'm kind of nervous because, of course, I haven't read ahead. I just cast on, and like you do the squares from the outside in to the inside. So I cast them on, and they kept getting smaller and smaller, and I was like, what's going on? And then I realized, okay, well now I have a square. And then it's like, make 4 of these. And I was like, oh. So I'm just going to go ahead and make 8, and we'll see how these end up. But I am enjoying knitting them. Probably because I dyed them myself, and it's really fun to knit with yarn that you dyed. I don't know if you know this, but it is. So that's Albers, and I'm enjoying knitting him. And then I've also done some knitting on my Rain Shine shawl by Boo Knits. So my Rain Shine shawl is knit out of hand spun lace weight. And you can see my cake's getting floppy now because I pulled from the inside. I finished the third lace repeat, and I'm starting the second lace chart. And I'm gonna grab the needles so it doesn't fall off. I've started beading. I've started putting beads on. Okay, maybe I can just show you from this way. I think I'm on a wrong side row, so, but can you see the beads? I don't know if you can see the beads. Maybe if I do it like this. I don't know, I just put them on this last row, so maybe you cannot see them. Okay, maybe it's because I'm on the wrong side. You can maybe see one or two. But there will be more. I think there's like 300 beads on it. You can see the colors of the yarn better with it folded in half like this. You can really see that transition from the dark colors into the gray lace. But I love Boo Knits. Like, I really do. I love Boo Knits' patterns, and I'm really enjoying knitting this, and it being hand spun makes it all that much more fun, but it's a little scary because in some places the hand spun is very thin, and I'm afraid that it might snap. Maybe not while I'm knitting it, but maybe when I'm wearing it. I don't know. So I hope that doesn't happen, but I can't wait to see this finished. I'm really excited. And then I did some spinning. I was spinning my Malabrigo Noob in the Cereza colorway. I finished 2 ounces on my bobbin. So you can see, I was talking about last week that red and purple, I don't know how much I like the red and purple next to each other. It's questionable. But I absolutely had to see what it was going to ply like. So I started plying it on my trindle. And this is because I'm still not where I want to be plying on my wheel yet. You really have to master the tension when you ply, otherwise you're going to over twist the crap out of it, which is what I've been doing. And this is such nice merino fiber that I didn't want to mess up the ply, especially because I felt like I spun the singles pretty well. Focus. Oh, there we go. I thought the singles were pretty even, and I was pretty happy with them, and I didn't want to ruin it by plying it incorrectly. So I know I have a lot of control on the spindle, and so I just went ahead and did that. So, but only a little bit. Here. So I have this nice fingering weight yarn that is plying up, and I've only plied the red, so I don't know how the pink, the purple, and the light purple is going to turn out. But I'm happy. This will take a long time on the trindle. I know that, but I would rather take my time and have a nice finished skein than try to do it on my wheel when I'm not ready, and who knows what it will look like. And you know what's really cool about that spinning is, sorry guys, my table is so full of stuff. I have a lot of stuff to show you today. I've been using my hip strings wraps per inch tool while I spin. I've been measuring the wood burn lines. And as I spin, I try to make my singles 1/3 of what I want it to be. So I was looking at 1/3 of that fingering weight line. And it worked out perfectly. So I can't recommend this enough. So I also have been working on the Amigurumi Monster Floyd, and I think he is coming along quite nicely, if I do say so myself. This is a pay-for pattern on Ravelry, and I see why you'd pay for it. It's an interesting construction, but I finished his body, which looks like this. This is Hobby Lobby's. I love this yarn in light green or sage, maybe. I don't know, I'll link to it. And then I finished his head I love the little amigurumi monster pieces by themselves. Like, cause look at that. He's so cute. And then I finished his mouth. His mouth is crazy. Cause check it out. The bottom is a circle. I don't know if you can see that. Oh, fuzzy. His mouth, the bottom is a circle. And then it goes up like this. Ooh, crazy. So, this is also Hobby Lobby's. I love this yarn. I've been crocheting him with a G-hook. These are the eyes I told you about last week that I just got at Hobby Lobby. I like them, even though they're not glow-in-the-dark or crazy eyes. Oh, but I do have to say, I liked Fresh Stitches on Facebook, and I saw in my feed the other day that she posted a link to a tutorial that another blogger did about changing, like glazing the colors of these eyes. So I'll link to that on my show notes too, because that was really cool. And then I also started a new project. It's cross stitch. Woo! I haven't touched cross stitch in a little while. So I found this cross stitch pattern on Etsy. It's called Be Unique by Nerdy Little Stitcher. And look, it's cheap. So there we go. There's 3 sheep, 2 of them are plain, and the one in the middle is obviously crazy. And at the bottom it says Be Unique. Maybe I'll put a little title down there so you can get an idea. Be unique. I thought this was super cute, and I thought it was a great opportunity to use this thread that you see the middle sheep is stitched in. He was stitched out of, I love these little rings that you can keep your thread on while for your projects. He was stitched on by this. So I don't think, oh, it's upside down. Can you read that? Oh, it wasn't upside down. But anyways, it was stitched in this hand-painted embroidery floss. And this is Electric Blue Lemonade. And this is some hand-painted floss that I got 6 months ago. It was a little while ago. I bought it from I Love Color Studio. Yes, I Love Color Studio. And I'm not sure if she still sells floss, but I will still link to her anyways. I thought, you know, it would be a nice little change of color. Sometimes, I'll show you with this hand-painted floss. Sometimes the hand-painted floss turns out way better than like a variegated floss, because you have these random short color changes, so it only lasts for maybe a stitch or 2, whereas most of the time variegated floss that you get from a craft store or like that's mass produced will have very long, like this. I could have stitched the whole sheep in that variegated yarn and it all be the same color. So the hand painted floss is nice. That's it for my works in progress. So moving on to finished objects. I don't have any, but I did some dyeing, so I can show you guys what I dyed. I will show you the yarn first, because I started dyeing the yarn first, and it will help me explain what I dyed later. So, I dyed this skein first. This skein is crazy. So, I'll go ahead and insert a picture of what it looked like before I put it into its 3rd bath. So I put it in a yellow bath, and then I put it in a orange bath, and then I put it in a green bath. And I'm not sure if I should have put it in the green bath. So here's what the final skein looks like, and here's what it looked like before I put it in the green bath. So I really liked that bright orange, the bright yellow with the white. It's very candy corn and very summery, but I thought that putting it in a green bath would turn it more green than it did. Instead, you have these pops of green, and then it turns some of the colors brown. But, you know, it's a learning process. So, what I did with this guy is I dipped half of them in yellow, half of them in orange, and then when I put them in the green bath, I put 3 overhand knots in the skein, dunked it in, to preserve the yellow and orange. I didn't think it was going to preserve as much yellow and orange as it did, but 3 overhand knots hides a lot of the yarn from the dye, so interesting. And then I also dyed this skein. Okay, this skein is looking less pink than it is in real life. There we go. I just have to move it closer to you. That's more color accurate. Maybe it's a little pinker. Maybe the overcast isn't being so nice. But this guy, I think I tied some knots in him and put him in a purple bath, and then took him out and then put all of him in a pink bath. Well, I mean, a very watered down red bath, which will give you the pink. And so I really like the way he turned out. Very pretty. And then, of course, I was dyeing over at Lindsay of the Knitwim Diaries podcast. She changed her name, so I don't want to keep calling it the Knitwim podcast. Knitwim Diaries podcast. I was at her house, and I was like, hey, grab a skein, let's dye. And she dyed this skein, and I think this one is my favorite. She said she was attempting to dye like a tomato soup, but this is more like my fall colors, like red, orange, brown, and the way that the color is variegated is just, I love it. I love this skein. She also dyed another skein, but it's for her, so I'm sure she'll put it on her next episode, but it's gorgeous. It's like, well, I won't spoil anything, but we called it the koi fish pond. Let's just say that. And so when I was doing all these dye baths with the yarn, I would sometimes, like, I wasn't really measuring the dye that well, and I'd have some dye left over that wouldn't exhaust into the yarn. So I just put fiber in there till it exhausted. So I have a bunch of dyed fiber, and I wouldn't put a lot of fiber because there wasn't a lot of dye left in the bath. It was usually close. So I have like little batches of fiber, and I realized, like the very first yarn I dyed, it had a yellow bath, and then it had an orange bath, which I don't have with me because I'm spinning it. Oh, I didn't tell you about that. Oh, I'll show you next week. And then a green bath. And then Lindsay's yarn has some blue in it. And then that purple skein I dyed. And I realized as I had all these colors, I was like, I am so close to a rainbow. I did dye myself a rainbow batch of little balls of fiber. Here, I have a picture. I'll insert it here. So, I've started spinning those, and I'm gonna spin them consecutively. So, red, orange, yellow, green, rainbow. I'm really excited. My plan is to spin them all worsted weight, and then chain ply them to conserve the colors, and then have rainbow yarn. Yay! I finished the red and I'm on the orange, but it's not very even. So I'm interested to see how this yarn turns out. But it doesn't matter, this is domestic wool that came with my wheel. It's not the softest wool, so I don't feel like I'm ruining anything. So that's going on. So moving on to check it out. So while I was browsing Ravelry today, I ran across a post about how knitting helps people. And not just knitting. I say knitting because that's what the article was about, but as I read it, it mentioned this guy who did a speech on flow. So I'll put the guy's name at the bottom of the screen because I can't pronounce it. I'm pretty sure it's Russian, and I don't want to inappropriately pronounce his name. But he gave one of those TED Talks, and I'll link to it on YouTube, of course. He did an amazing speech that I really enjoyed. He does kind of have an accent, so you have to be patient with him, but it was a really good speech. I'll just kind of summarize it with, it was about the key to happiness. And it was saying how the way that he has analyzed happiness, you have to get into this, what they call flow. And he talks about, like, people who find that flow are often people that are creative and do things that are creative. So knitting, spinning, crochet, anything like that fits into the kind of thing that will get you in that flow. And I thought it was really cool. I am not doing a very good job of explaining it, but I think it's something you should go check out, because it's one of those things that you watch, of course most TED Talks are, where it kind of just makes you rethink about the way you live your life, or want to live your life. So that's my check it out this week. It's borderline craft related, but I think it will help you understand yourself better and what makes you happy and why crafting makes you happy, or relaxes you. So definitely worth watching. I think it was like 18 minutes or so. Check it out. Moving on to current events. I have giveaways! Yay! So we just closed the February-March finished objects thread at the end of March, and so let's draw for the prizes. So how about we do the yarn one first? Of course I'm looking because I have them all in bags, and I have to remember which bag is the yarn bag. This is the yarn bag. So the winner will be winning this skein of platinum sock that I hand dyed that was St. Patrick's Day themed. So I got one. I want to make sure it's just one, because it feels like two. Rip. One. The winner is Karen SWD. B. It's backwards when I see it. So, Karen SWB. Send me a message on Ravelry with your address and I will ship that to you as soon as possible. Congratulations. So, let's do the drawing for the fiber. The fiber drawing is this one? Or this one? This one. Okay, fiber drawing is this one. I know because there's only 4 names in here. Oh, you can't see because there's only 4. Hey, that's really good odds. A 1 in 4 chance. Okay. The winner is Soul Stitches. So Soul Stitches wins this 4-ounce braid of BFL swirl that I dyed green for St. Patrick's Day. Congratulations. And then the other drawing is for the fabric. See, I tried to remind myself that that's how it was. The fabric bag was for the fabric drawing. This is a purse I made before I started podcasting. Okay. So the winner of the fabric drawing is Cat Straight. Congratulations, Cat. You won. Oh, fabric that I left over there on the shelf, but I've showed it before. I know you know what it looks like. So message me and I will ship it to you. Same with Soul Stitches. Message me with your address and I will ship you the fiber. And then, so that's for the February-March finished objects thread. Oh, I forgot to mention, Karen, SWB, who won the yarn, you also are getting a set of stitch markers that I made. Oh yeah. So it's got some regular sized rings and some like sock needle sized rings on there. So I will ship that with the yarn. So then we also closed out the project bag sew along that ended at the end of March. So I finished the open wide bag by Noodlehead in the St. Patrick's themed fabric that I was telling you guys about. It's got a little green zipper. So the winner will be receiving this bag, and oh, I put all the goodies right here. So the winner gets this bag, and inside of it will be some pins, some embroidery floss bobbins with a little ring like the one I showed you earlier, a sample skein of Gail's Art American Graffiti. And if you watch the Knit Girls, this is the sock yarn that Leslie's knitting a pair of socks out of. Or she might have finished it. I might have to catch up. But I saw her knitting them. And I was like, hey, I have a sample skein of that. It's not really my kind of colorway. So maybe you can knit with it and see if you like it and want to get some. And then some fabric. Whee! So, oh, and a set of stitch markers. So lots of prizes with this project bag so long. So I have all the names in the bag. So the bag is lined with yellow. And I'm not an expert seamstress, so I mean, it's okay. But it's not perfect, and you can see the bottom I sewed with my machine, so it's not an invisible seam there. So I hope you don't mind, but it's big. And it will work. So the winner is, oh wow, Cat Straight. You won the bag too. Congratulations. So I mean, I should send me your address and you'll get fabric in here with the other prizes. So, whee! So, that closes those prizes, and so for other current events, I started up in April and May finished objects thread, and it will work just like the February-March one did. There's a yarn, fiber, and fabric category, and just post away everything that you make in those 2 months, and we will ooh and ah, and you will get one entry into each category, no matter how many you post for that category. You do have to post a project that relates to the category to get an entry for it, but you only get one, but post as much as you like. And it's chatter friendly, so we can't win over it. I thought about separating them because it's easier that way, but I would have like 6 threads. A chatter for each category and then a no chatter for each category, and it's too much. It's too much. So, upcoming events. So Stitches South is next weekend, and I don't think I'm gonna get to go. I know. I mean, it's like a double-edged sword because I finally got switched back to days at work. But now I work Saturdays. Saturdays, the day I was going to go. So, I'm going to try to get out of work on that day, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So, I might just have to send Lindsay with some money and be like, hey, can you get me some goodies? And then the Alabama Festival of Fiber Arts is in like 2 weeks, and I don't know if I'm going to get to go to that either. I'm also going to try to get out of work for that one. I have a better chance because it's further out than Stitches South, but it's still not a guarantee. So I hope. I really want to take that Roll-Eye class. So, and then I also talked to my mother-in-law today. Today they have been shearing the sheep. She called me and said that I'm getting 2 fleeces from her sheep, so she's buying 3 sheep, and they are Cheviot and BFL. They're Cheviot BFL mixed breed. So I'm really interested to see how that fleece will be because I've spun both Cheviot and BFL, so I'm curious. And then she also said there was another set of sheep that were coming in to get sheared, and the owner didn't really have plans for the fleece at all, and so she snagged me one. And she said this is a Jacob's fleece, and she said it's gorgeous and long and soft and black and white. So I'm really excited to get that one as well. It's so much fiber that I think she said she was gonna ship it to me like one chunk and then another chunk later, which is totally fine. There's no way I could possibly process all that fleece quickly. I know this is gonna be a year-long process. So I am super duper excited. I cannot wait. Yay! But that's all I got for you guys. Stay tuned at the end of this episode for my tutorial on how to make stitch markers. And then following that will be some cat and maybe dogs. I don't know. We shall see. Have a good crafting week. I'm sorry about the lighting. If it was bad, I don't know. I probably won't know until I rewatch this, but I apologize anyways. And I will see you next week. Bye! I'm going to show you how I made my stitch markers, the green ones. So this will just be a really short tutorial. What you're going to need is these rounded needle nose pliers, regular needle nose pliers, wire cutters. This is a head pin, and this is an eye pin. Now, which pin you need depends on the kind of stitch marker you're going to be making, so I'm going to show you an example with each. You also are going to need these jump rings. You can get them in a variety of sizes. I have a smaller one that we're going to use as the stitch marker, the ring that actually goes on the needle. I like this size for sock needles, this size for bigger needles. I think it fits up to a 9 pretty snug, but you can find other jumpers out there that are larger. But these are the two sizes that I have, so that's what I'm going to be using. And then you need beads. So I have some bigger beads here, and some seed beads, and some medium-sized beads. You can really use whatever kind of beads you want, but there are some limitations depending on how you build your stitch marker. So I'll go ahead and start with the tail pin. So the tail pin is flat on the bottom. And so this is really useful when you're working with small beads like seed beads. If you work with anything bigger than a seed bead, let's say this guy, it's just like a silver round bead. You can see the hole is too big and it will slide right through. So you have to make sure that you don't do that. So for this stitch marker, I'm just going to be using some seed beads, and I'll slip 3 on there. 3 is a good size for like a sock knitting stitch marker. So you have your 3 beads on your tail pin. Now what you're going to do is trim the tail pin. So take the wire cutters. You're going to want to leave enough room so that you can curl the end of the wire into a loop for you to put on your jumper ring. So I'm going to cut it off at about anywhere's, depending on the size of the loop you need, so anywhere's from like a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. So, you want to have a really good grasp on your wire when you do that, because it flew right away. So I'm going to slip my beads back on because I'm still holding them tightly. I wasn't holding the wire. So you can see. So now you take your round needle nose pliers and you're going to, near the tip, because you can see there is a very small circle down here and it gets fatter and fatter. And this is a small stitch marker, so we want a small circle. So as close to the tip as you can get, and you're going to round and curve that piece of wire. And then what I like to do is just kind of pinch it and squeeze so that that wire gets nice and flush on itself, so it's not super noticeable. And if you notice that it's a little crooked, you can always take your flat or your regular needle nose pliers and kind of bend it up straight. And I mean, at this point though, it's really just getting nitpicky about how much you really want to make it perfect. So you have just a little thing like that. Then all you have to do is open your jumper ring. These are really soft, made out of really soft metal. I mean, depending on the kind that you get. And there's a split in it. And you can use needle nose pliers, but I normally use my hands to just open them. Just like that. If you're making a bunch of these, you're probably going to want to use your tools because your fingers will eventually get tired. But you can just slip that on, close it up, and I like to give it a nice little pinch with the pliers just to make sure it's completely flush. You want to be careful not to pinch your fingers. And there is one plain little stitch marker that's great for sock knitting. So that's one method. And you can use this method, and you know, you saw how long the pins are. You can put a lot of bigger beads on there. So it's not limited to just tiny little stitch markers. This is just an example. So there's that stitch marker. So now for the eye pin. I find these really useful for dangling jewelry. So to save time, I've already disconnected one of the jewels. I took a jumper ring and I put one of the silver beads on it so that this will dangle the bottom. But see how it's still got this loop at the top? I'm going to open the eye on the eye pin and slip it in there and close that back up again. Losing my tools. So okay, so now this is securely fastened to the bottom of the eye pin. Now I'm going to take some more silver beads and just kind of decorate the top. I wish I had some black beads. I think it would look really nice on here, but I don't. So I don't want anything too big, so this is probably good enough. I would do just one, but I really don't like the completely balanced look of it. You want to throw off the symmetry a little bit, so I'm going to put 2 on there, even though it's a little longer than I'd normally like. And then you do the same thing that you did for the other one. Make sure you have a hold of your wire. And so, because this jumper ring that I'm going to use on this one is bigger, you're going to want a little bigger of a hole. So don't cut as much wire off this time, because you can always trim it again, but you can't put the wire back on. I mean, maybe if you had a soldering kit, maybe, I don't know, but that's not going to be any fun, promise you that. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it closer to 1/2 inch. So this is what I have. And the beads, of course, slide around, so you have to be careful. And then take the rounded needle nose pliers. And like this time, I want a bigger circle. So I'm going to go a little higher up on my rounded needle nose pliers. And I'm just going to curl. Sorry, trying to stay in view. So you can see I have a bigger loop this time. I'm going to pull it flush. And you can see this one's a better example of how crooked it can look. So I'm going to get my regular needle nose pliers and kind of straighten that out. And then really from here it's just fine tuning. Again, it depends on how much of a perfectionist you are. And then you get your jumper cable, your jumper ring, open it, slip it on, close it up, and there you go. That's not yours. Yeah, busted. Why you keep doing that?